I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is worthiness and looking at our innate worthiness, that it's not something that needs to be earned or performed to achieve, that we are just by virtue of being worthy. And it should be a fun conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present and settled in. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding it through your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And now as you exhale any tension, any stress, any negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your electrons, all your molecules. And as you exhale any remaining stress, tension, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now, in this wonderful body that's enabling you to experience this wonderful sensual delight of living. And so with that, welcome. So worthiness, this is such a fundamental topic, because so many of us struggle with this notion of worthiness. And I'm wondering if we can instigate a simple shift of thinking that can precipitate and propagate into a new way of being. And the shift in thinking is that you don't have to do anything or be any particular way to be worthy. That just by virtue of the fact of our being, our existence, just by virtue of the fact that you have shown up here on this planet, you are worthy. And that means I make a distinction between worthiness and entitlement. You know, that being worthy is something that so many people struggle with, right? Like, I have to earn my place in the world. And the thing is, if we look at all the rest of nature outside of humanity, nature is just being, right? We're not I'm looking for the words to be recognizing that we are part of life expressing itself on the planet. That's really the case. We're here as life expressing itself in its myriad forms. And just by virtue of our being, we're worthy of being here. It just is innate, you know, that we're here for, I choose to believe that we're here for a reason, you know, that we're here for a purpose, and our lives play out in expression of that purpose. It doesn't mean that we have to create something life-shattering or life-altering, or that we need to do or be any particular way in our beingness, but that just by virtue of our being here, we're worthy to be here, and we're worthy to be experiencing life. And I think it's very interesting that the unworthiness that people feel is often it is a function of family dynamics, often, most often, or social dynamics in school, in community, where people are judging one another, and where we become at the effect of judgment from others. And then, so there's an indoctrination, essentially, where we are taught that we are less than, or that we need somehow to prove ourselves, because that's the expectation of others, trying to impose their opinions and their judgments upon us. And we lose the sense of our innate belonging here on this planet. And so I'm wondering, I can say that I personally have had struggles with worthiness in my life, and at different levels of achievement, so to speak, in life. People, you've probably heard of the imposter syndrome. A lot of people suffer from that, like, I'm not worthy of the acclaim or the recognition or the acknowledgement or the goodness, or how is it that this becomes such a pervasive kind of experience? It's kind of crazy if we think about it. And as a result of that insufficiency, or that perceived inadequacy, then we look to compensate for that, to find ways to gin ourselves up. We find ways to make ourselves worthy, make ourselves more important, make ourselves valuable. And all of these are subjective kinds of valuations, right? When we look at how do we establish status in the world, that is what is it that's going to make us unworthy? If we have a baseline where we experience ourselves as unworthy, what's going to shift that? Is it the amount of possessions that we acquire? Is it the certain relationships or affiliations that we cultivate? Is it the status that we acquire within certain social circles? Or like, what is it that allows us to move from a place of unworthiness to worthiness? And I'm going to suggest that it is a simple shift of mind, that maybe it's self-acceptance and self-love, and a suspension of self-judgment that enables us. Maybe it's compassion for ourselves that enables us to move into a place of self-acceptance, and perhaps we move from there into worthiness. I think it's a fascinating dynamic, kind of social control, to be playing with this worthiness idea, where people shun other people, people judge other people. In our families, we're told that, in some of our families anyway, we're told that we're not good enough, or what's wrong with us. And we're conditioned to believe that we're not okay in some way, shape, or form. And then we spend our lives trying to fill that void of lack of approval with all kinds of behaviors to win approval, like performing in certain ways, doing certain things, accomplishing certain things, gaining certain kinds of recognition, all these things to say, hey, notice me. I'm, like I'm proving myself. And the thing is that in the situations where there is a parent, for example, that is disapproving, that typically there's no amount of performance or accomplishment that is going to gain the recognition, that the desired recognition and approval from that person, because there's just this dynamic, this role. And so when we finally are able to make the step or the transition from requiring outward acknowledgement to experiencing our own worthiness, then and probably only then will our experience shift. And I just want to say that I haven't responded. If you've put in a comment and I haven't responded, it's because I haven't seen a comment yet. So if you're commenting, maybe comment again so that I can hopefully see that you're here. Anyway, I think that this is something that so many people suffer with. And I think that if we can recognize, thank you, Tammy. All right, good morning. I appreciate it, just to know that we are live and things are working. I really appreciate you being here and chiming in. Welcome, welcome. So we're talking about worthiness. And I think that this is something that so many people struggle with. I think, in fact, it just occurred to me, like, even from the time that we're in school, right? We're indoctrinated to our worthiness, essentially, with grades. We're doing all this stuff in school and we're either receiving approval or disapproval for our performance, right? We're graded. I don't know if they still do this, but I came across one of my report cards from like kindergarten, and there were personality profile kinds of like character critiques on the report card. It wasn't, I don't think in like kindergarten, I don't think that it was grades as much as it was like attitudinal assessment kind of thing on the report cards. And so, very early on, we're cast into a system and an environment where we're judged and evaluated and ranked, and that we're told that we're good or bad based on all of these external valuations, right? And whether we fit in or we don't fit in, whether we perform the tasks the way that we're supposed to, the way that we're being indoctrinated to or conditioned to. And we accept all of this as just the way it is, I think, without even questioning what the impact of it is on our psyche and our culture. This notion of hierarchy and ranking and the association. It's one thing perhaps to say, okay, you got 100 on a test or a 63 or something like that. that's an assessment of knowledge, but then the judgment of good and bad and worthiness and capability and all kinds of judgments then go out beyond the the objective reporting of performance, for instance, on a test. And so, you know, if you get a C, then you go home and face your parents who are very unhappy with that, or they're very delighted with that because you were getting Fs before. I don't know, but it's really, really interesting how our systems are set up to reinforce this whole notion of good and bad and I'm saying worthiness, but excellence versus it's the spectrum, I guess, of performance that then becomes a character assessment. Good morning, Lisa. So good to have you here with us. We're talking about worthiness and how we are systematically conditioned to be judging and evaluating ourselves and others. And along with that judgment comes judgments of worthiness. And I'm here to say that whether you get a 98 or a 32 on a test, it has nothing to do with worthiness. And that just by virtue of our being here, we are worthy. And if we were all to have recognition of that, not only for ourselves, but for others, then it would be a very different world if we operated from a place of worthiness and sufficiency and belonging, like we all have our place here, that we all are here as part of life expressing itself, and we all have an equal right to be here, and that we are all worthy, equally worthy of being here. And your education or your wealth or your lack of wealth does not, or lack of education, for example, or your weight or your appearance or your race or your religion or whatever the objective or subjective evaluations of one person or another are, doesn't in any way impact that person's worthiness to be here. And if we could experience that, if we could experience that we are all worthy, wouldn't it be a very different world? So Lisa says it's hard to know we're enough to be worthy of everything and everyone. So that's what I'm talking about, Lisa. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to know we're enough? It's crazy. It's crazy that it's so hard. And I'm just sort of looking at the system that indoctrinates us into the notion that we're not enough, you know, and how we are bred into judgment from our school systems. Like our school systems, whatever's happening at home, you know, there's a lot happening at home for sure, but then our school systems help to reinforce all of that. You know, if a student is a high performing academic or a high performing athlete, then they're better. Oh, excuse me. I think I'm just, this is awesome because I get to be processing all this stuff with you guys. So I'm presuming that that the yawns are energy moving, but you know, it's really, really interesting to be looking at how the culture operates on this notion of unworthiness. You know, if we don't follow the rules in school, we get punished and we're told we're bad. And and unworthy, right? Unworthy of maybe participating with the other students or whatever, that there's this whole a whole dynamic that keeps getting reinforced. You know, you get demerits or you get ostracized, and there are lots of social dynamics that are reinforcing a hierarchy and a hierarchy of sufficiency and privilege even. And I think it's very, very interesting to be looking at that because we take it for granted, right? We don't even see the systems that we're so indoctrinated to. I mean, it's just that's the way it is. We don't really think to question things necessarily. And I really believe that this conditioned unworthiness is at the heart of so many of the ills that we experience societally. You know, if we look, and I've talked about this before, but a lot of consumerism is driven by conditioned unworthiness or insufficiency. You know, to say maybe not unworthiness, but not being good enough. You know, so like I'm going to make myself feel better by buying this fancy car, and then I'll be better. It's going to make me better as a human being because I have this fancy car, for instance, or because I have this big fancy house. So Lisa says, I don't know. I remember going to a psychologist as a teenager and him telling me women often lack the feeling of worthiness. Well, we get to look at why that is in our culture. And I think I have some ideas about that. He said, even when it comes to enjoying ourselves, we don't feel we're deserving due to lack of worthiness. He even said that's why women have trouble having orgasms. That part shocked me because I was only 15. Oh my gosh. Maybe a little inappropriate for a conversation with a 15-year-old. I don't know. So when we look at why do women feel unworthy, look at the commercials that are on TV. Now, this is designed. This is not accidental. Look at the commercials that are on TV. Everything from personal care products, you know, to make sure that we don't smell, to making our eyelashes longer, covering our wrinkles, changing our weight, wearing certain kinds of clothes, doing our hair, you know, having hair, obviously I have none, but, you know, making sure that your hair is silky and soft. And women, if we look in our culture, women are profoundly adding hair extensions, Lisa said. I don't have anything to add them to, but yes, adding hair extensions. There's women are profoundly objectified in our culture. I mean, look at movies. You know, isn't it most often, unless it's like a war type or gangster type movie, do you notice that women are the ones that are the victims of murder most often? At least that's my perception, may or may not be true, but you know, there in certain genres anyway, women are the victims more often than not, right? And the women are the victims of abuse in media a lot. And you know, there are many things that serve to objectify and nominalize women. And we are conditioned to that in all different fronts, you know, by the roles that were shown for women to have, by the treatment that women have, by the way that women are painted in the media. It's very interesting. And women are conditioned. Well, I think innately women are caregivers, right? As mothers, certainly. Women are nurturers more and more. And I think we get to see, like, stand back and look at these messages that we're getting. There's really intense misogyny in our culture, huge. Lisa says it's intimidating. Well, it can be, but you know what I see is right now. I mean, even look at some of the laws too, where women's rights to their own body are being challenged. It can be intimidating, and I think that we can see at the same time that there is a marginalization of women, that women are arising now. And so I think that the status quo is being threatened, and that's why there is a more kind of more attempt to dominate and control women, because women have a foundationally different sensibility. And I think the move toward wholeness and connection and community and communication that is happening at the same time, the factionalization is happening. Like there's this polarity that's happening. I think that there is a part of that polarity that is between the divine feminine and the masculine that has dominated, like the out of control kind of testosterone driven masculine that has dominated culture. And so there's this friction, I'll say, that is becoming more and more prominent, that we're getting to see. And I think the salvation of the world rests with women, and the strength that women have to create collective communication and understanding. I think that in the divine feminine, that's where the hope for the world is. Lisa says, I have to go to work. Lisa, thank you for being here with us. You always have such wonderful contributions, and it's very much appreciated. So I hope you have a good day at work. Anyway, we get to look at worthiness, and that if we can, thank you, Lisa, you too, have a wonderful day. If we can make the mental shift to recognize there's nothing that we have to do or say, no way that we have to be in order to be worthy. That just by virtue of our beingness, just by virtue of our being here on the planet, and being part of life expressing itself, that we are innately worthy. And if we can connect to that and presence ourselves to that, despite whatever the externalities are, that we don't judge our worth based on our possessions or our accomplishments or any of that, that we are worthy regardless of any of that, then that enables us to shift our way of being in the world. And I believe that would shift the world in so many ways. So with that, I want to acknowledge you as worthy, and hope that you are able to find that experience within yourself and move in the world from that place of worthiness. And with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. And I invite you to check out the other wonderful programming from Enlightened World Network and also on EWN, One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And until, hey, Dennis, good morning. You made it just in time to wrap it up. But we are talking about worthiness today. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, carry your worthiness just by virtue of the fact that you are here on this planet, right here, right now. You are worthy. You are life living itself through you, and you belong here. And with that, so much love. Until next time.